There is no shortage of incredible antagonists in film and television. One could even argue that they usually take the spotlight in their stories, as they are the most fun or the most intriguing. But what makes these sort of characters great? Of course, there is no God-given formula to create the perfect antagonists. They can widely vary in terms of character, theme, method, etc. So, in order to understand this type of characters, in this video essay we're gonna take a look at one of them who managed to be a great antagonist and also have one of the best redemption arcs seen on TV. The Fire Prince Zuko from the Avatar series. Let's make a quick recap, and before we begin, this is the spoiler warning for Avatar: The Last Airbender series. Zuko is the son of the Fire Lord Ozai, a ruthless dictator who has set out to conquer each of the other three elemental nations in the world: air, water, and earth. Zuko was banished by his own father for being weak, and the only way to regain his honor.
Honor. My honor. I want my honor. My honor. In your honor. For the honor of the Fire Nation.
Is to capture the Avatar, the only person who can master all four elements and bring peace to the four nations. Now let's see what makes Zuko a great antagonist for the story of Avatar Aang. One of the things many screenwriters seem to struggle with is the unfounded belief that their villain must have a backstory in order to be compelling. While that is not necessarily true, it does make for great storytelling. However, with this in mind, some people think they can just throw a tragedy in the villain's past, therefore justifying every action they make from then on. A bullied kid who lost his mommy in a car accident becoming the most evil mass murderer doesn't make a coherent character. It's just being oversimplistic. Now, in the case of Zuko, being the Fire Prince, the most prosperous nation who keeps conquering and winning battles by the day, has seemingly everything going great for him. When he objects on sending his own men as bait on a suicide mission, his father challenges him to a duel for showing weakness. When he refuses to participate in said duel, not only is he banished and dishonored, but his own father burns him as a punishment, leaving a huge scar on the left side of his face. However, this information is not just thrown as exposition to the audience with no relevance to the plot. We learned this after several episodes when the crew members of Zuko's ship complain about the apparent lack of interest from their captain on their well-being. When Uncle Iroh hears this, he tells the crew the backstory of Zuko, and moments later, when Zuko is sailing in a storm and closing in to the Avatar, he gives up the pursuit to rescue one of his men falling to the sea. This backstory is given both to the audience and the supporting characters when we need to hear it, not just for the sake of knowing it. This is key when crafting your antagonist. You must show what the character values and how far he is willing to go in order to attain his goals. At first, it may seem like Zuko is willing to do anything to get to the Avatar, but we are shown that he wouldn't sacrifice the life of his crew members. This also illustrates the deeper motivations behind his actions. He wants the Avatar, due to the fact that he wants to regain his honor, as he says on dozens of occasions. But this quest for honor is really just about acceptance and validation from the people around him. So, although misguided, we know there is nobility within him. Even so, he is still the bad guy, at least for the first couple of seasons. So, let's keep exploring the character's psyche and the elements that make him interesting. In every great story, the motives of the antagonist and protagonist must be in conflict in either one of two ways. The first one is when your antagonist wants to stop your hero from achieving his own goal. The second one happens when your antagonist has his goal of his own that will result in the defeat of your hero. In Avatar, we have both. Zuko has his own goal, to capture the Avatar Aang. In doing so, our hero would be defeated, but he also wants to stop the Avatar from mastering the 4 elements so that he cannot put an end to the War of the Fire Nation. However, this second goal is only in service of what he believes to be a noble cause. Hence, the lie your character believes comes into play. For those who don't know, the lie your character believes is a term in writing that states a misconception the character has about himself, about the world, or both, and the character must struggle and face the lie in order to grow and have a compelling arc. This goes along the line which divides what the character wants versus what the character needs. Wants can change. As we see at first, he wants to capture the Avatar and then wants to help him. But the need stays the same. Zuko needs to realize that what he considers honor is nothing but a tool his father uses against him, and that the war he's been promoting brings nothing but suffering. In realizing this, he is no longer the antagonist, but we are getting ahead of ourselves, so let's look back at other elements that constitute his character. It is hard to properly set up an antagonist without dissecting the relationship it has with the hero. So, in order to make this relationship compelling, there must be a strong thematic opposition between them. This means that there is at least one key element that sets them on completely different sides of the argument. Maybe what your protagonist values the most is love and family, while your antagonist is just a greedy businessman. Think about the stories you love the most, and you will probably find that the antagonist and protagonist have opposing views or values that set them on their conflicting journeys. So, back to the Avatar, when our story begins, Zuko and Aang have very different sets of values and motivations. However, little by little, our antagonist starts to face his lie and has some missteps along the way, like any human being would, but comes to terms with the truth and starts to enact it. It is important to make an emphasis on how Zuko doesn't change overnight. Even with a clear and strong motivation, hardly any convincing character would simply shift their entire value system and worldview just like that. To make a natural progression from evil to a good character, Zuko must struggle to make that transition credible to the audience and to the rest of the characters within the story. Because we as an audience follow Zuko, we know he's turning into a good person. But the rest of the primary characters do not know this. When Zuko makes his shift towards good, Aang and his friends don't buy it, and we feel sorry for him and perhaps think that they're being too hard on our renewed character. However, making our protagonist immediately accept Zuko would make for very poor screenwriting and would have left audiences unsatisfied. It wouldn't feel real. This is why Aang, and more specifically Katara, give him a real hard time for several episodes before they can finally trust him. Redemption does not mean just becoming good, however hard it might be. The very definition of the word redemption means to earn forgiveness, and to do so, the character must pay a toll. Another great example of a redeemed character is the worldwide beloved Tony Stark. At first, he has every classic villain characteristic. He's a narcissistic millionaire who sells weapons of mass destruction and has no regards for anyone other than himself. So, he pays a heavy price. He has to carry a car battery that powers an electromagnet to his chest so pieces of shrapnel from his own weapons don't pierce his heart. He is tortured and enslaved and realizes the consequences of his actions, and from that moment on, he lives for his redemption, all the way to sacrificing his life in the epic conclusion of the Infinity Saga. In Avatar: The Last Airbender, Zuko earns his redemption because he is constantly paying for what he's done. He is beaten down by the people who have been oppressed by the Fire Nation, and after he gets what he apparently wanted all along, he realizes he feels nothing but bitterness and disappointment. This is why it is so satisfying to watch him shift his entire value system over the course of the story. And this is why Zuko is one of the greatest antagonists in one of the best animated series. Thank you guys for watching. If you like our content, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more of our videos. Also, click the links in the description below so you follow us on social media for more awesome film-related content.